In 1434, a Flemish painter named Jan van Eyck finished a painting so dense with hidden information that scholars are still arguing about what it means 600 years later. The painting shows two people standing in a room. A man in a wide black hat raises his right hand. A woman in a green dress stands beside him, her left hand resting in his. Between them, on the back wall, hangs a convex mirror. Above the mirror, in elaborate Gothic script, the painter left an inscription that reads, Johannes de Eyck, Fut Hic, 1434. Jan van Eyck was here. 1434. Not Johannes de Eyck painted this. Not made by Jan van Eyck. Was here. The inscription is written in the first person, in the past tense, as if Van Eyck is not signing the painting, but documenting his own presence in the room at a specific moment in time. That is the first thing that should stop you. A painter does not sign his work by announcing that he attended the event, unless the painting is not simply a portrait, unless it is something else, a document, a record, a piece of legal testimony. And if it is testimony, then the question becomes, testimony to what? This painting is currently held in the National Gallery in London. It has been studied, debated, and interpreted for almost 2 centuries of art historical scholarship. And the central question, what exactly this painting is recording and why, remains genuinely unresolved. Subscribe to Carrara. We go into the painting's other channels only look at. The man in the black hat was identified in the 19th century as Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini, a wealthy Italian merchant from Lucca working in Bruges. The identification came from a 1516 inventory of Margaret of Austria's collection, which described a painting of a man and woman holding hands with a coat of arms matching the Arnolfini family. For over a century, the painting was interpreted as a wedding portrait. The raised hand was the oath. The joined hands were the contract. Van Eyck, reflected in the mirror, was the legal witness. The painting was not art. It was a marriage certificate. That was the dominant theory, argued most forcefully by art historian Erwin Panofsky in 1934. Then historians began finding problems. Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini did not marry until 1447. This painting is dated 1434. The woman depicted cannot be his wife because his wife had not yet entered the picture. The person in the green dress is unidentified. And if this is not a wedding portrait, then what is it? What are they swearing? What is Van Eyck witnessing? The alternative theories multiply. A betrothal, not a marriage, a promise rather than a completed act. A memorial portrait of a woman who had died, painted after the fact. A legal record of a different kind of transaction entirely, a business contract, a power of attorney, a deed of property. Each theory has evidence in the painting to support it. Each theory has evidence in the painting that contradicts it. The convex mirror on the back wall of the painting is the detail that changes everything. Convex mirrors in 15th century Flemish interiors were expensive luxury objects. They were also symbols of vanity, of the all-seeing eye, of divine omniscience. Van Eyck used them deliberately. But what makes this mirror extraordinary is what it contains. It reflects the entire room from the opposite direction. The man, the woman, the window, the chandelier, and in the doorway, reflected in its curved surface, are 2 additional figures. 2 people who are not visible in the main painting. 2 people who were apparently present in the room when this scene took place. One of them is almost certainly Van Eyck himself. The inscription above the mirror says he was there. The mirror confirms it. But who is the second figure? This is where the crime enters the picture. Not a crime in the modern sense, but a legal problem that has never been resolved. If the painting is a legal document, a record of a witnessed act, then the two figures in the mirror are the witnesses. Their identities would be essential to the document's validity. Van Eyck we can account for. The second witness has no name, 6 centuries of scholarship, and no one has been able to identify who was standing in that doorway in 1434. A legal document with an unnamed witness is a document with a hole in it. Whatever this painting was meant to prove, it cannot fully prove it, and that gap, that unnamed figure in the curved glass, is the unsolved crime at the center of the most analyzed painting in Northern Renaissance art. Van Eyck was not simply painting what he saw. He was encoding information into every surface of the room. The single candle burning in the chandelier, directly above the couple, only one of the chandelier's 6 arms is lit in full daylight, is either a votive candle lit for a sacred occasion or a symbol of the all-seeing eye of God. The small dog at the couple's feet is a symbol of fidelity in Flemish iconography. The wooden clogs discarded near the window suggest this is holy ground. Shoes removed as Moses before the burning bush. The bedpost has a carved figure of Saint Margaret, patron saint of childbirth. The single orange on the window sill, an extraordinarily expensive import in 15th century Flanders, sits with the careful casualness of an object placed to be noticed. Every object in this room is carrying meaning. Not one of them is accidental. Van Eyck was painting in a tradition where the physical world was understood as a text written by God, where every object was a word in a divine language that educated viewers could read. But this creates the interpretive problem that has never been resolved. If every object is symbolic, then the meaning depends entirely on which symbolic tradition you apply. The dog means fidelity in one reading and lust in another. The removed shoes mean sacred space in one reading and a bedroom about to be used in another. The painting is simultaneously legible and unresolvable. It hands you a set of keys and does not tell you which door they open. Subscribe to Carrara, because the most interesting things in art history are the things that resist being solved. There is one thing I keep returning to when I look at this painting. Van Eyck was technically capable of things that should not have been possible in 1434. The convex mirror reflection is rendered with an accuracy that requires understanding of how curved surfaces distort light. The textile surfaces, the green wool, the fur trim, the heavy curtain, are painted with a differentiation of texture that conservators still study. The single lit candle casts light that is physically consistent with how candlelight behaves. Van Eyck was not painting what he saw. He was painting what he knew. And what he knew included a complete understanding of how light moves through a room, how surfaces absorb and reflect it differently, and how a convex mirror distorts the space behind the viewer. This is not observation. This is a cognitive model of the physical world so precise that it arrives at conclusions that optics would not formally codify for another century. This is the crime that has never been solved. Not who the second witness was, not whether this is a marriage or a betrothal or a memorial. The deepest unsolved problem in this painting is how Van Eyck knew what he knew, how a painter in 1434, working without the theoretical framework that would eventually explain the phenomena he was depicting, produced a record of light and surface and reflection so accurate that it still holds up under forensic analysis 600 years later. The painting is in London. You can go and stand in front of it, and you will be standing in front of a room that a man understood more completely than anyone around him could explain. The room is still there. The witnesses are still in the mirror. The painter is still there too. In Gothic script, above the glass that shows everything.